In this video, we have got a Samsung tablet SM-T290, and it's come to us with a issue charging. When we take a closer look at it, we can see that there is one pin, or the plastic inside the port is slightly cracked, and one of the pins looks a little bit wonky. And when we plug it into the micro USB connector, we get no response. So to repair it, we're gonna have to remove the back. So first we will take out the SD card tray, and then using one of these plastic guitar picks, insert it between the screen and the plastic back and just work your way around. Sometimes you have to be quite aggressive with this, and when you hear that plastic cracking sound, it's not the plastic breaking, it's the clips loosening. Once you've worked your way all the way around, there's no booby traps in this one, and we've just got 9 screws that we need to remove. These are all crosshead screws, nice and easy to remove. And the first one will be the battery connector at the top half of the device. Once they're removed, take off the shield covering the connector up and use a plastic stick to disconnect the battery. Now we move on to the bottom screws. There's 7 screws, 4 of these ones with the big fat heads on them, and 3 of them are the smaller black screws down the bottom. Keep them safe because we're going to need to reinstall them later on. Once the screws are removed, we need to take off the speaker assembly, and we can do that by just getting the plastic pick in there and prying it upwards. That reveals our charge port down the bottom, and it's secured into place with this ZIF connector. Remove the tape and use a plastic stick to open it up. Then gently take out the flex cable. Pry upwards underneath the charging board, and we can see the damage here. I don't have a replacement charging board for this one available, and the customer was in a little bit of a rush, but I did have the small micro USB port only. So I'm gonna swap this out. If you're swapping the whole board, skip to the next part of the video. But I'm gonna be desoldering the micro USB port and reinstalling a fresh one onto the charging board. So we get the little PCB, drop it into our eye-pinch board holder, and cover up the ZIF connector with some polyamide tape, Kapton tape. Now I'm going to mix in some low melting solder. This is 138 solder wire, 138 degrees solder wire. I'm going to mix that into the unleaded factory solder so that it lowers the melting temperature a little bit. And then using hot air, I'm going to heat the area up and wait for the charge port to start moving. I gently tap it with the tweezers just to see that it starts moving, and eventually it will drop out from underneath so that we can remove it. With that now removed, I flip over the board. I'm going to apply some flux and use some copper wig to draw out the old solder. with the soldering iron. My solder iron is set to 350 degrees and it makes really light work of this. I just do a little bit of scratching on that pad there. It looks like I've pulled the pad, but in fact it was just oxidized and looked a little bit grey. So once all the solder's taken away, I can add a little bit more flux onto the 5 pins and apply some 183 solder wire. We're looking for nice fluffy pillows of solder on those pins, and I'm avoiding getting any inside the ground lugs on the side, so that when we drop the connector on, it sits flush, and then using hot air we can wait till the solder melts. We can see that we've got surface tension between the connector and the pads, which means that it's secure. Now we're just going to add a little bit more flux again and touch up those connectors so that the solder covers it entirely. With that now done, we can take it out of the eye pinch, flip it over again, and we're going to fill those ground lugs with solder to make sure that the port is nice and secure. More flux and more solder. And once that's looking tidy and neat, we just got to clean it up a little bit. So we take it out of the eye pinch again. Inspect it to make sure that it looks tidy. And then use some flux cleaner with a toothbrush to get all that residue flux off. And there was quite a bit of flux, to be fair. Wipe it down with the microfiber wipe and repeat on the top side. Until it is spotless. Now that that's clean, we can reinstall it into our tablet. And I like to use tweezers to make sure the ZIF connectors sit in right. That pushed in nicely, so we can secure it down and then add another bit of Kapton tape on top of it so that it's double secure. You need to make sure that those pins are free on the sides as well, because there are positive and negative connections for the loudspeaker. Reinstall the loudspeaker and the sort of mid-frame cover, and then screw down our 7 screws. Once they're secure, we can move on to the battery, reconnect it, reattach the cover, and then secure the 2 screws. Before we put the back cover on, I just want to do a little test to make sure that it's now charging. which it is. So we disconnect that and push gently on the back cover until it sits into place, and just make sure that it's secure all the way around. If it's not, just give it a little squeeze. Reinstall the SD card tray, and finally we can plug it in, get some charge into it, and eventually the device will turn on. If you found this video useful, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more repair related content. Thank you for watching.